Hello everyone. Greetings to all the learners out there. Microsoft Excel is one of the most powerful business tools right now, and it has been in around the corporate world for quite a long time. It has become an inseparable tool in the world of business. You might be right out of college or you might be sitting up in the corporate ladder, but I'm 100% sure that you might have encountered to work with Microsoft Excel at least once. So, today's video is exactly about Microsoft Excel, and today we'll be discussing one of the most important topics of Microsoft Excel, that is Excel formulas and functions. I hope you guys are excited about it. Watch on.
Before we get started, I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy, a free initiative by Great Learning. You can access over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on trending high demand domains, absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion. Check out the link in the description of the video below. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.
Alright guys, so let's get started with the agendas for today's video. So at first we'll be understanding what exactly is a formula in Excel, and then we'll be understanding how Microsoft Excel figures out that a user is going to enter a formula. Moving on to the technical part of the formula, we'll be understanding the precedence order of operators that will be used for entering the formulas. After which we'll be directly jumping into the live Excel workbook to understand the concept of entering, copying, editing and hiding a formula. Moving on, we'll be understanding the next major part of the video where we'll be discussing the functions in Excel and how functions and formulas are correlated to each other, and then we also will be discussing the three major parts of a function. Also, where we'll be discussing how to view, search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel. And then coming to the concluding part of the video, that is the most exciting part of the video too, where we'll be discussing the top 10 Excel functions that every Excel user need to be aware of to make their life easier. So guys, I think you understood the structure of agenda for today, and I hope you guys are really excited to move forward. So let's get started. So now let's discuss what is a formula in Excel. So as you can see on the screen, a formula in an Excel is an expression that operates on values in the range of cells or a cell, and on a mathematical point of view, it is a calculation for a specified purpose. So you might be wondering why am I explaining a formula to you, because we all know that we have been exposed to a ton loads of formulas right from our school days. But to understand a formula in Microsoft Excel, you also need to understand what is a range. So what exactly is a range? A range is simply a rectangular box of selected cells. So if I take the example of the snapshot that is provided, you can see there a red highlighted box, and that is exactly a rectangular box of selected cells. So now, how to name or identify a range? A range is identified by the name of the cell in the upper left corner of the range and the name of the cell on the lower right corner of the range. So, in this example, the A column intersects with the first row, and that's how it got the name A1, and the B column intersects with the row that is B3. So to identify or name a range, that is A1 colon B3. That's how you name or identify a range. So how do you select a range? So to select a range, you just need to drag across the range or the cells you want to be in your range. So now, I think you guys have understood what exactly a range is, and you might have understood what is the relation between a formula and a range. Now, let's move on to the next topic, that is how to enter a formula. Before entering to the topic of how to enter a formula, we'll first discuss how Microsoft Excel understands that the user wants to enter a formula. So in the first example, the user inputs 22 plus 44 plus 55, and Microsoft Excel understands this input as a text only because there is a lack of equal to sign. So the equal to sign is the factor which tells MS Excel that the user wants to enter a formula. In the second example, you can see that the user has inputted equal to sign and then moved ahead to entering the formula, that is 22 plus 44 plus 55. And as soon as this is done, you can see Microsoft Excel has identified that the user is wanting to enter a formula, that is sum. This is the correct way, and on the left side this is the incorrect way of entering the formula. So now I think you have understood how Microsoft Excel understands the user is wanting to enter a formula or not. Moving on, now we'll understand the two different ways to enter a formula. So the first way of entering the formula is by using the actual values, and the second way is by using cell references. So in the below example, you can see that we have the data sets of marks obtained by students in particular subjects, and we are trying to calculate the score obtained by RAM. In the first example, we are using the actual values obtained by RAMs to calculate his score, and in the second example, we are using the cell references to calculate his total score. To understand this concept even better, we will move on to the live workbook. So here, let's start off by calculating the score using the actual values. So let's hit equal to and enter the scores obtained by RAM. 89. And then let's hit the enter button. As you can see, the total score of RAM was calculated. Now, let's use the cell reference method to calculate the total score obtained by RAM. So to do that, we'll hit equal to button, click on the cells that are required, hit the plus button, and then click on the enter button. So there you go. We have calculated the total scores by both the methods. So now let's talk about a situation wherein a faculty made an error while entering the marks, that is 76 instead of 90. So now we'll go ahead and correct this mistake. And as soon as we did this, we can see that the total score that was obtained by RAM, which was calculated using cell references, got updated, but the score that was calculated by using the actual values didn't get updated. So this is one major advantage of using cell references in formulas, because if any updation in the cells which are under reference in a formula gets updated, the final desired output also gets updated. Alright guys, so now I believe that you might have understood the two different ways to enter a formula and also the advantageous way to do the same. Now moving on to the next topic, that is precedence order of operators. The mathematical operations in Microsoft Excel works on the principle of BODMAS or PEDMAS. BODMAS accounts to the bracket order of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, and PEDMAS accounts to parenthesis of exponential, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Microsoft Excel imposes a hierarchy on the mathematical operations, and it goes like first comes exponential and then followed by the division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. But addition and subtractions are both equally ranked, and whichever Microsoft Excel encounters first gets executed first. So that's how all the priority of operators takes place in Microsoft Excel, and this plays a major role while we use mathematical operators in a formula. So now moving on to the next topic, that is how to enter, copy, edit, or hide a formula. And to discuss that, we'll be directly jumping into the live workbook. In my earlier example, if you remember, I had actually shown you how to enter a formula. Now we'll understand how editing a formula works. In the same very example, if you recall, I had actually changed the mark of RAM from 76 to 90. And as soon as I did that, the total score of RAM got updated in the cell which used the cell references to calculate his total. But the cell which used the actual values obtained by him didn't get updated. So in order to update the total score in this cell, we have to edit the formula. There are three different ways to edit a formula. The very first way of editing the formula is by clicking on the cell and moving your cursor to the formula bar and making the required changes. And when I hit the enter button, you can see that the formula got updated and Ram's total score is also changed to 444. Now the second way of editing the formula is by double clicking on the cell. And when you do that, the formula which is beneath the cell comes in front of it and the required changes can be made. And now the third and the most simple way of doing an edit to a formula is by using a shortcut key. So first, we'll move to the cell that requires the edit. We'll hit the F2 button. And as you do that, you can see the formula which was beneath the cell comes in front of it. And we can make the necessary changes and click on the enter button. So that's the three ways to edit a formula. Now, I would like to ask you a question. What is the first thing that strikes your mind when you hear copy and paste? I bet it is Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Yes, these keys also work in Microsoft Excel. Let's go ahead and try it out. So when you click on the cell which you want it to be copied, hit the keys Ctrl C and move it to the cell that requires the pasting and hit the keys Ctrl V. Now as you can see, the copy is made, and the important part over here is it's not only the content that is getting copied, it is also the formula that is coming along with it. The another simple way of copying a formula is by right clicking the mouse button, going to the copy option, then moving to the cell where you want it to be getting copied, go there and use the paste option. Now let's discuss the third and the most widely used way of copying a formula, that is drag and drop. Now if you can see on the screen, when I hover my mouse in the corner of the cell that requires to be copied, you can see a black plus that is getting formed. Now click on the cell, drag it till the cell where you want the formula to be copied and drop it off. There you go. You can see both the content and also the formula is coming along with it. This is the way where you can use drag and drop to copy a formula. So till now we were copying a formula from a cell that was non-dynamic in nature. Now let's move ahead and copy a formula that is dynamic in nature. As we do that, we can see it's not the value of 444 that is getting copied below, but it is some other values that we don't know where it is coming from. To understand that, we'll go and double click on the cell. So as you can see here, it is the scores obtained by Ria in particular subjects that is getting added up, and her total score is published in that row. So what actually is happening here is, since we copied a cell that was dynamic in nature, it is still using the same formula that we used to calculate the total score of Ram, but it is using the cell references of the scores obtained by Ria and adding them up to calculate the total score obtained by her. In the same way, Mohan's and Emma's scores are also added up and it is published in these cells. So this is the another major advantage of using cell references in formula. As you can see in the example, as we drag down the formula, it automatically calculated the scores of the other students and published it in the respective cells. And this actually makes a life of a Excel user a lot more easier. Okay guys, now we'll understand how to hide a formula in Microsoft Excel. To do that, I'll first enter some random formula into a cell. There you go. And now when we click on the cell, you can actually see the formula in the formula bar. So in order to hide the formula, first we'll have to format the cell. And we'll go to the production tab and we'll check these boxes and hit on the OK button. Now we'll go to the review tab, go to protect sheet and enter password of our own. Click OK, then again confirm the password, and there you go. Now when you click on the cell, you can actually see the formula. So now if you want to hide a formula from any other third-party user, you could actually use this function and go to protect sheet to hide any complicated or secretive formula that you have found out. So in order to get back your formula, you have to go to the unprotect sheet and hit on the formula that you had entered earlier. And when you do that, whatever formula was beneath this cell, you can retrieve it back. Alright guys, that's awesome. Now I believe that you guys have a clear idea of how to enter, copy, edit, and also how to hide a formula. Now moving on to the next major part of the video wherein we'll be discussing about functions. So what exactly is a function? As you can see on the screen, a function is a predefined formula that performs calculation using specific values in a particular order. For the past few minutes, we were trying to understand the concept of formula. Now we have taken a step ahead and now we are trying to understand what is function. Both function and formula are correlated to each other because a function is a predefined formula which is provided by Microsoft Excel. Now, talking about functions, there are three parts of an Excel function, that is, equal to sign, formula name, and arguments. The equal to sign should be self-explanatory now. The formula name is the name of the formula that performs particular calculations. Arguments is none other than the range of cells you want the formula to be performed on. Now, moving on to the next slide. Here, we'll be discussing about the various ways to view and search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel. Now, looking into the screenshot that is provided, you can see that the user has already clicked on the Formulas tab, which opens up a ribbon of options for functions that are AutoSum functions, recently used, financial and logical, text, date and time, lookup functions, mathematical and trigonometrical functions. Also, there is an option for more functions. Even then, if you're not able to find a particular function that's in your mind, you can go ahead and click on the Insert Functions tab. Doing that, it opens up a pop-up box which asks you to search for a function that's in your mind. So if you do that, for example, if you are searching for an addition function, go ahead and search add or addition and hit the go button. When you do that, Microsoft Excel recommends a list of functions that follows the same calculation as the function that you had searched for. So these are the various ways to view and search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel.
So, moving on to the final and the most exciting part of the video, wherein we will be discussing about the top functions in Excel that every Excel user need to know to make their lives easier. So, under this topic, we'll be taking a bunch of functions together, we'll be understanding their concepts, and then we'll move to the live workbook to understand the concept even better practically. So, let's get started. So first four functions are the count function, sum function, minimum function, maximum function. So basically what a count function does is it counts the number of cells in a range which consists of numbers. So basically it is searching for the number of cells which contains numbers. So moving to the next function, that is sum function. So basically, as the name suggests, it adds all the numbers in the range of cells. So moving on to the next function, it is the minimum function. As also the name suggests, it returns the smallest value in a set of values. And coming to the max function, it returns the largest value in a set of values. So now moving on to the live workbook to understand it better. So coming to the first function, that is count. So let us enter the count function, that is equal to count tab, and let's select the range and hit the enter. So 9. So just to cross check whether the count function is properly checking, we'll just count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Yeah, so the count function is working perfectly fine as proclaimed. And then we'll now move on to the sum function. So to calculate the sum of the marks, that will be equal to sum, hit the tab button, select the range where the sum needs to be calculated, hit enter, and there you go, the sum is 698. So now we want to understand what was the maximum score that was achieved by a student in the subject. So to understand that, we'll go to the max function, max, tab, hit the range where the maximum value has to be found out, click on enter, and there you go, that is 87. So 87 is the highest score of a student that is being scored in this test. So moving to the minimum function. So the minimum function tells us that which was the minimum on the least score that was scored by a student in the test, and we'll be selecting the range and clicking on the enter, and there you go. So that was 64. So 64 was the least score achieved by a student in that test. So moving on to the next set of functions that are average and f. So basically what average function does is it returns the average of its arguments. So basically what are these arguments? These arguments are none other than the cells or the range of cells. Now coming to the if functions, it is actually logical functions. So if you are a computer science student, you might have used a lot of if loops or if else loops, if else statements. It basically works the same in an Excel too. It is a logical function which displays a user defined output according to the condition. So to understand this better, let's move to the live workbook. So average function, let's find the average score of the student in this test. So to do that, first we'll enter equals to average, then we will enter the range, hit the enter button. So here we can see that the average of the class is 77.5. Now to work upon the if function, I would like to say that if a class average is below 75, then the class can do better. So, and if the class average is higher than 75, the class performance is good. So, if I have to put an if condition or an if function, I'll put it as if tab. So the condition is first they are telling for the logical test. So here we'll be telling that if average is less than 75, then we'll put a comma, and they're asking if the value is true, like if the average is less than 75, what should be the output that you want the Excel cell to give. So if average is less than 75, I want the output to be can do better, CDB. So that is the output I want, and then I'll hit a comma, and then now they are asking for the value if false. So here they're telling that if the average is above 75, so the condition is getting false. So I just want to put the output to be good performance. Now we'll see what is going to happen, and just click an enter button. So here you go. So that's the output that has been received, good performance. So I would just want to know whether I would certainly, for a change, I'll put the score and alter the average. So I'll put the alter the average mark to the 60, and now you can see that the average has reduced to 74.66, and that is actually less than 75, and the conditions becomes true, and the if output comes as CDB, that is can do better. So that was the output that I had given. That is the first condition. If it is true, then the output is CDB. And before the condition was false, that is the average was above 75, so it was good performance was the output. So now moving on to the next function, that will be concatenate function. So basically concatenate function attaches or concatenates the values of the selected cells. So to understand this better, we will directly jump into the live workbook. So here you can see the first name of the students and the last name of the students. So if I want the first name and the last name to be attached and to get a full name of the students, I will be using the concatenate function. So let's try it out. So concatenate tab. So they are asking for me the first text, that is Raj. Then I'll hit a comma, then Kumar, and then hit an enter. So here you can see that has printed out Rajkumar, but I feel that the text that has come up is very congested, and I believe there should be a space between Raj and the last name Kumar. So what I'll do, I'll just go and edit the function, and I'll put a small space using two double quotes and a space between them, and hit a comma and then hit enter. So now you can see that there is a small space between them. So now there is a question, does concatenate function only work on text? So the answer is no. It can also work on numbers too. So if you want to concatenate a number to the like if you want to add the score besides the Rajkumar's name, we can do that. So to that
to do that, we'll just edit the function. We'll go there, hit a comma, then we'll tell them to add 78 as the text, and then hit enter. So see, there you go. So Rajkumar, both the first name and the last name, and we also have the score that has been scored by him. So I'll just drop down this to copy everything the same way, and there you go. We have the full name of all the students who attended the test, and we have also got their marks on besides them. So now moving on to the next set of functions. So we have countif functions, sumif functions, and drop down list function. So what exactly does a countif function do? So countif function counts the number of cells according to the criteria provided by the user. And the sumif functions adds the values of the cells within a range according to the criteria. The drop-down list is also a kind of conditional functions. All these three functions are too much into conditional, so I think it will be really easy to understand if we do it in a practical live workbook. So let's jump into the practical live workbook to understand it better. So first, let us work on with the countif function. So count if and then tab. So here we can see they're asking me for a range. So I am selecting the range as the section, and I'll hit the comma, and they're asking me for the criteria, and I'll give that batch A as a criteria. So what exactly am I trying to get an output for here? So here I'm actually trying to find out how many students from section A has attended this exam. So that is what I am trying to find out. So when I here hit the enter key, let's see how many. It's showing 3. Let's just cross check. So here it's 1A, you can see 2, and we can see 3. So that's exactly the number of students that had attended the exam. So I'll just drag down and see whether the other section students, how many of them have attended the exam. So it's showing that B section there are 4 students, and the C section there are 2 students. So let's just cross check for confirmation. B1, 2, 3, and 4, and C comes to be 2. Yeah. So this is exactly what we had the countif functions have produced the output for. Now let's move to sumif function. So let's put sumif, hit the tab. Yeah, so they're asking me for a range. So I'll put the section as a range, then move to comma and hit the criteria. So criteria will be this A, B, A batch, and then I'll hit, they're asking me for the sum range. So sum range will be the score achieved by the students. So yeah, so what exactly am I trying to get output here in this case? So in this case, I am trying to understand that the score that was obtained by the students studying in only section A. So what is happening here, the sumif function is actually selecting the students only from section A and then summing their scores that they have obtained. So when I hit the enter button, I'll get the students scored, the score of the students summed up who are studying in section A. So there you go, that is 239. So you can see that section is 79 plus 76 plus 85, that will sum up to 239. And I'll just drag down and see to get the results of other 2. There you go, B section students, 4 of them are doing. And then you can see the results are like, if you sum up the scores, you get 288, and C, you can see there are 2 students, and if you sum up their scores, you get 145. So that's all for countif functions and sumif function. So here we come to the last function that has to be discussed in this video, that is drop-down list. So how does a drop-down list work? So now I'll create a drop-down list function. So first I'll select a cell, then I'll go to data, and then I'll go to data validation, and here I'll go and select list, and they're asking for the source. So I'll click here and tell the source as the names of the students, and I'll hit Okay, and there you go. Now we can get to select any student's name here. So basically how a drop down function works is conditionally with respect to any other function. So if I had to, like, say if I use the sumif function here and I say that the range is the name and I put comma and I say the criteria is the name that pops up in the drop down list, then I tell some range. So some range, I'll say that I'll want to show the output of the student that I want, that I'm going to select in the drop down list. So I'll hit enter and there you go. So there's Ram's score in this particular test. So if I want to get to know the score of Sachin, I just click here and there you go. There I get that is Sachin's score, that is 76, and I just don't need to search here in this table. So here drop down list, if I want to check for Elena's, that is 64. So I don't have to search every time for the score of a particular student if I can get it very easily with the help of drop down list. So with that function being discussed, we are wrapping up the video with a short summary. So basically in the first we understood what exactly is a formula. We understood the concept of formula, and then we understood how Microsoft Excel understands how the user is going to enter a formula. Then we understood how to edit, copy and hide a formula from any other user. Then we moved to the functions part of the video, wherein we discussed about what exactly is a function, how function and formula is correlated, and then we understood the three parts of the function. And then in the final part, and before that we also understood the different ways to view and search functions in Microsoft Excel. And in the final part of the video we discussed the top 10 Excel functions in detail, and we understood the concept of every functions that was discussed in the final part of the video, and how it works and what are their roles in the particular function. So if you have any other queries regarding to the topics that were discussed in today's video, go ahead and respond in the comment section. I would be happy to respond to you all. So thank you for watching. I'll be back with a new video. Thank you.
I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy, a free initiative by Great Learning. You can access over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on trending high demand domains, absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion. Check out the link in the description of the video below. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.